I'm now joined in the studio by SABC Channel Africa journalist and analyst on African Affairs Izak Khomo to discuss this very special day on the continent. Izak, thank you so much for joining us. It's Africa Day. A lot to celebrate, a lot not to celebrate. What's your take on Africa Day celebrations that have been taking place on the continent?
Well, I think Africa Day celebrations are a day which we've really got to celebrate. And I think the best way to celebrate it is to be declared a public holiday throughout Africa. Yeah, so that it actually gets to the people's consciousness other than it being a working day and the celebrations taking place in corners, here and there. If you go to the general public, there's not much awareness of Africa Day. So I think we should give it a special day and a special way of celebrating it, where we are going to reflect on where we come from, where we are supposed to go to, and what is happening now.
Just speaking of the public holiday issue, a lot of countries on the continent do, what's the word, it is a public holiday for a lot of them except for South Africa and a few others. So is it really a big issue, or is it more of Africans understanding what Africa Day really means?
Well, I think Africans have got to understand. You see, we'll not even talk about Africa Day. I'll talk about the reality for Africans to know about Africa Day and the need for there being an African Union. We're living in a globalized world. And with the globalized world, it's an economic venture project. But then the African economists have come to actually realize, when they look at the experience of Africa in the last 30 years, with in the days of neoliberalism, of the structural adjustment program and globalization, they say that globalization is here to stay. There's no way that we can argue against it. We've got to actually find modalities of living with it. And one of the modalities of living with it is actually to come up with globalized regions and a globalized content to be a bigger player in the globalized world. So that it's a reality. For most cases, people have been looking at the globalization, about African unity from a political perspective, where you talk about having a political integration, one parliament, one this and one that. But now it's coming to be said that it's an economic reality. We are going to the path that the EU went. The EU started with the ECC. It was an economic commission, European Economic Commission. And there, due to the dictates of the economic union, they came up to this EU, which is somehow a quasi-political union. And you've got to go that way. But now you've got to prepare our people for that eventuality. And I think that's where the Africa Day celebration and issues around that come in.
Now, Izak, one of the many issues that are blamed on Africa's ills is the fact that there are a number of dictatorships that are taking place currently. Presidents who don't really want to let go of power. Are these concerns legitimate? And how do we get African presidents who have reached their term in office from changing different countries' legislations and ensuring that they remain in power? Okay,
now that's a cliche, and it's a stereotype. The majority of African countries, they're actually totally democratized. Although now with the democratic project, you find that there are countries like Uganda, Rwanda, where they're going to revise their constitution to give a president a second or a third term. But what is there is this, that multi-party democracy, or sort of the democratic dispensation. It's a reality in most African countries. In fact, the countries which you call sort of dictatorships, I mean to say, I don't know which one you're talking about, maybe Ethiopia or maybe whatnot. There are few, and they're an exception other than the thing there. So basically, this issue of there being dictators who do not want to get out, we would be very careful. It's more for cliche than anything else. Because
when you say they're an exception, what needs to be done to ensure that there are no exceptions and every country is a democratic country? I
think most countries are democratic countries.
But the ones that are not, in terms of the leaders who don't want to let go of power?
I don't know which leaders want to go into power. I mean to say that most leaders who don't want to go into power is basically due to the weakness of the opposition. There's another thing that people are talking about. Honestly, I'm not joking. It's basically due to the weakness of the opposition. I mean to say, like Museveni. Zeleny, he's there, he's a strong leader, he's overusing the state the state instrument of whatever it is. But unfortunately, is this that when it comes to the people, the electorate on the ground, yeah, they're beholden to him. And that's the reality, and that's why he laughs. Yeah, you can actually see with African countries, people like Museveni, yeah, if we come and analyze him and say this guy's a dictator, he has actually suppressed the media, he's done this, he's done that. But unfortunately, if you go to the rural areas, when he gets there, they treat him like a god. Now what are they going to do? So it's the opposition which is actually weak, yeah? And the opposition is weak because maybe they don't have access to the state-controlled mass media. So now we've got to look at the, not at the leaders, but at the strengthening at the institutions which actually look after democracy. Yeah, in fact, so we've got to go to a second stage. Yeah, we should not actually sort of go and talk about the leaders. We should look at the institutions which are supposed to fortify that democratic process. Yeah, now we've got to give them things like the media, free media, much more free, things like that.
Now, Izak, let's speak about the challenges that are plaguing regional blocs, starting here at home, which is the SADC bloc. What are the main problems here, and how do we resolve those problems?
Of the SADC bloc. The most important failure, as I would call it, or challenge, you know, people like talking about challenge when it's a failure. Yeah. Okay, let's call it a challenge. The biggest challenge to the SADC bloc is actually to transform it into an economic sort of body. Yeah. The ECOWAS people, let's take an example, juxtapose it with the ECOWAS or even the East African community. The ECOWAS, they've got a roadmap on how they're going to unite their country. But they've got a roadmap on how they're going to unite the economies of those countries with a common currency, with there are many things. It's a common currency, it's a common trading zone, eradication of tariffs. Now we find that SADC, it has not gone there. In fact, it's halfway, not even halfway there. Yeah, for a long time, SADC, people looking at South Africa as being the driver of the SADC Economic Union. But they've been an obstacle, yeah, with a lot of tariffs and protectionist things. Like, I mean to say that most of the SADC countries, they had only one industry, viable industry, which was the textile industry. But you find that with textile import into South Africa for a long time, they were bad, you know. And it was an irony because you find that South Africa, I mean, the Zimbabweans had a beautiful sort of textile industry before the whole thing collapsed. But they could not send their textile to South Africa. The Zimbabweans had a wonderful dairy industry, yeah. Yes, dairy industry. And then they looked at the South Africa as a place to come to push their things. They could not do it, yeah. Whereas South Africa went and liberalized the market to Chinese, subsidized Chinese goods, which when they came here, they killed South Africa's own textile industry. The textile industry that was based in Cape Town has been killed. Yeah, because of cheap subsidized imports from China. And so too the textile industry that was based in Pietermaritzburg is gone. And those people with their money, they've taken that industry to maybe to Malaysia. Yeah, taking advantage of the AGOA arrangement. Yeah, but I mean, see, that's the thing. South Africa itself, it's high time that we had a common market, a SADC common market. Yeah, and the stumbling block has been South Africa. Honestly, the stumbling block has been South Africa. So SADC, basically, what is it? A political union. It has got to relate itself and actually transform itself into an economic union. And from there we go forward to unite the African economies. The East African community, they are actually going towards in that direction.
Now, with the current situation, as you say, that South Africa is the major stumbling block within the SADC region, what does the SADC region or the SADC community need to do to change that and get things right and have those open markets and trade relations?
In fact, that's what it is. And the ministers have got to get together, the presidents have got to get together and actually have a South African open market. Yeah, with an open market whereby you can find goods from the DRC coming here, goods from South Africa going there. Yeah, and also you find that basically South Africa, it's a fruit growing area. But most of the South African fruits, the deciduous fruits, they are actually exported to the EU.
Yes.
Yeah, they still got a market in the EU. They still got a market also in Britain. Yeah, but again, you find that South Africa is very weak when it comes to tropical products, fruits. We try to produce pineapples and mangoes. These are fake mangoes, fake pineapples, believe you me. We can have wonderful mangoes, whatever it is, from the other side of countries. And that will actually help the small-scale agriculture that's there. Because you've got to open markets which are going to assist the majority of South Africans in the SADC, Africans in the SADC area. And these Africans in the SADC areas, they're mostly rural peasants. And those peasant agriculturists, they've got to sort of commercialize, or they've got to get their activities in the economic sphere. And opening up markets for them is one of the ways that you could do it. Yeah. And
now, you know, Izak, let's not move on to what President Zuma earlier said today during, I think, Africa Day celebrations, where he urged employers to stop causing social tensions by employing illegal immigrants. Is this what employers are doing?
Oh yes, it's done, especially in the low-paying jobs, in the agricultural sector. Yeah, in the agriculture. In fact, when you look at the Dudans, when there were problems, I think 2 years ago, and when those problems started in those fruit farms, it came out that the farmers there, they were actually sort of busing in workers from Zimbabwe, and these were illegal immigrants. Yeah, and they were going to undercut the already undercut workers in Western Cape. Yeah, so that thing there has got to be looked at because it's a time bomb.
Now, unfortunately, we are sort of running out of time, but I'd like to ask some more questions in terms of the DRC, South Sudan issues, continuous conflict in these two countries. What needs to be done? What needs to be done? There's been an agreement that was signed in 2015 with South Sudan's leadership with regards to peace and stability in the youngest nation in Africa in terms of South Sudan. What needs to be done going forward?
Well, Sudan is South Sudan, I think it's a sad thing, and it's one of the sad things not only South Sudan, but in the African context. You know, we look at South Sudan, we look at Sudan, we look at the DRC, we could look at Mali, we could look at Burundi, and we could look at CAR. But the weakness of everything, I'm sorry to say, it came from the weakness of the of the AU to intervene on time. I mean, the issues of South Sudan, issues of CAR could be solved, but they were left unattended. Yeah, the leadership at the AU, it was very, very weak. Yeah, in fact, we get that even from people within the AU. They said that in the last term of the last president, I won't mention names, that the EU lost a lot of ground in all these places. Yeah, if you look at the South Sudan situation, where they've got an agreement. Now, that agreement was not brokered by the AU. It was brokered by the contact group. Yeah, with the Americans playing a very important part. And the Americans, Norwegians, and the British. And with that solution, it was not a solution where there was moderation and people came to agree. Yeah, it was enforcement. Yeah, arbitration. The Americans just told the guys, you sign that, otherwise you're going to get ABC. Yeah, people signed agreements without even wanting to sign agreements because the AU was too weak. Same thing happened in the CAR. What you're seeing happen in the CAR, it's a French solution. What's happening in Mali is also another French solution. Where is the AU?
Unfortunately, we have run out of time. We'll have to ask you to return to the program so we can discuss this further. We'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
That was analyst Izak Khomo joining us live in studio.